I'm up here with my co-host, Annalise. Thank you so much for being here with us, Annalise. And it's such an honor and a pleasure to have you as a co-host with your deep knowledge and history as an educator in permaculture. And it's been really wonderful to bring your perspective into everything.
Yeah, it's been a really incredible time to come together, and it's been miraculous just to see everyone moving in the same kind of way forward on the planet, and to see so many presenters with a similar kind of themes, but as we're all a little bit different, kind of like what all the different plants that make up a forest ecology, and the mycelium and the animals that are amongst it, and the bacteria and the viruses and everything, we all represent our own unique kind of flavor and type of that. And it's really important that all of our messages are heard out there in the world, or a diversity, a really good diversity of messages are out there, because we're going to reach to so many more people. If we just have one message and that's it, we're going to lose half of the ecology, if not more. And so especially us, we're edge creatures. And with permaculture, we work quite instinctively with using the edge, valuing the marginal. And so wherever we can, like, rub up against all these different kind of ingenious edgeways. And it's these edgeways that are the segues towards us being planetary citizens, and activating and coming out from inside our homes, out into our gardens, out from beyond our doorsteps. And like many of us have been saying during this presentation over the last 2 days, how important it is for us to bind strongly with our community and find those relationships with people, and to anchor ourselves in place, and to become really like indigenous to place, to get familiar with what our plant communities are, our bird calls early in the morning. This morning I was up at 2 a.m. the last 2 days with pleasure, also watching the sun rising up and hearing all those bird calls that I just love to hear. And we have the spangled drongo that's coming down from Papua New Guinea, and it visits us this time of year. And I love hearing this particular call that's just quite exquisite, that I won't hear in other times of the year. So it's been a great time to really hear, receive, and for an audience, you know, pick up what feels good for you. There might be some things that speak to you more than others, but we really want to encourage you. A big part of the merit of this work is that we wanted to offer up some take-homes and some actions. And so I want to just hear who in this audience around the planet wants to make some action from here. Genevieve, is that you? Like, put your hand up. I want to see who else's hands up. Like, come on, pull those hands up if you're feeling it. Like, yes, I've got 2 hands up. I'm going to continue even more strongly from the energy of this. So yeah, I'm in all the way. And thank you for the opportunity to express this and to be able to work with such incredible people. I've been so uplifted by the McKenna Academy being a part of this event. Thank you so very much.
It's been incredible to work together on this beautiful project, and there have been so many organic parts to this that it would only make sense that as we host an event in reverence and in honor of nature and in protection of her and in honor of our own nature, that there would be this organic unfolding to it. And really looking at that, I feel there's, for a long time in the world and parts of the world, there's been this narrative that in order to help, we have to leave what we want to do and drop that and go help. And kind of pulling back and remembering that we are literally creatures of this earth. We are a species on planet Earth, and that embedded within us is exactly the way that we can help. And what I feel we have really seen over the past 2 days is such an incredibly inspiring collection of humans who have listened very deeply to who they are and what they have to share, and are sharing it from that place. And that comes across so many disciplines. We saw Antonio from bringing this message from the Amazon as a Peruvian curandero. And we saw, we have like Anthony Basil Rodriguez bringing in this amazing storytelling. Starhawk also, who said this piece of, well, if you love the earth, of course you'd want to protect her. And everybody's coming to their piece and really bringing what they feel inspired by. Mark Ian Barash earlier today was speaking about this journey of, through his own illness, finding and getting in touch with this path of creating regeneration on a large scale. and that all came from just listening to who he is. And so again, I very much encourage everyone to really deeply listen to, in what way do you feel that you can contribute the most, because that is where we have the greatest leverage. That's another principle talked about within permaculture, is looking at leverage points. Where can we observe what is and design around that so that the greatest effect comes from the minimal effort. And when we're led by our heart, that's when we have the most momentum. And so my heart is full, experiencing and listening to and learning from so many people who've come together over this weekend to share about what their heart has led them to use their brilliant minds to become very skilled in, and to make that their path in the world.
Genevieve, I've just been chatting with Dennis, and he's actually available to come on with us. Let's bring him on.
Wonderful. That sounds like a perfect idea. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Hi, how are you? You must be exhausted.
Good to see you.
I know I'm exhausted and I haven't been doing anything. That's the problem. Except trying to pay attention and take all this in. This has really been another amazing afternoon. So much information shared. I'm just blown away by the people that we've talked to, and the people that have been kind enough to share their wisdom and their passion with us. I don't know what else to say except that this has just been quite an experience for everyone, and I hope that people will find something to take away from this that will change their lives. I keep thinking about so many of these people that have come to this virtual forum today are just making a difference, an incredible difference, and not with a lot of resources. I mean, these are not people who have to have big grants or corporate sponsorship or any of these things. I mean, it would be nice if there were ethical sources of support. They don't really care. They're just moving ahead and doing it and making a difference. And I keep thinking about the famous quote from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has."
Yes, and Dennis.
We are seeing this. There are these nodes of change. And I have to think of, I think it was Voltaire who also said, there is no force on earth that can resist the power of an idea whose time has come. And the time to get back in touch with the earth, to get back in touch with ourselves, because we are of the earth, to change things from the inside and spread that change across the world, is now. And it's happening, and it will be resisted. It is being resisted by the factions that control, they think, the world, but they're absolutely wrong. They may control the money, they may control the weapons, but that cannot overcome the power of the human spirit. And we are waking up as a species, and that's the task. And so I just want to thank everyone who's participated, all my friends and colleagues at the McKenna Academy. You've just been fantastic. I'm told I have to make a passionate plea for people to support us. I don't really think I have to. I think people that have participated in this get that message. We are fulfilling our mission, which is basically to be a kind of the first mystery school since Eleusis, and to be a forum where all these ideas can be brought forward and discussed, and where we can collectively explore our destiny as a species, our relationship with nature and the cosmos, how it all fits together, try to fashion collectively with the entire community of species a new future for ourselves, a future that is not dreary, that is not gloomy, that is not fearful, a future where all life can flourish and we can learn or relearn what our ancestors and our indigenous people have always known, that we are a part of nature. We need to be partnerships with nature. We do not own it. It's not there for us to exploit. It's there for us to love and nurture. So we have many more plans, many more events. At the moment, we can work virtually. We have plans to do other things, and you can learn about those from our website. But right now, this is the tool that is available to us, virtual tools. And they're rather effective, so it seems to me. So if you like what you're doing and you feel moved to support us, we welcome your support. We have incorporated as a nonprofit, so if things like tax deductions are important to you, we think we might be able to give you some. But having said that, I have to say that so many people, the work that they are doing also needs support, as you can see. These are all effectively nonprofit organizations. Nobody's getting rich off this. And I'm just humbled to be able to work with such incredible change makers and such heartful and passionate people. This has been a real gift. So I want to thank you for your patience and for listening. I know these hours are long, but now we have a lot of digesting to do and food for thought.
Thank you so much for your contribution and for just bringing in that global context. Thank you so much. I'm also a little on the verge of tears right now. It's powerful to all be in this space together on this planet, caring so much.
That's it. Genevieve and I will be showing up for the wrap and the completion. If you feel to join us, Dennis, that would be wonderful. I have a quote from your brother Terence. I definitely want to share out. And I want to say how rich, when you say that we're not getting rich from this, I was just like, something in me was like, oof, I'm getting so rich from this. Just there's this richness that's just overflowing my series of cups. Not just
there are many kinds of richness.
That's it. And so I'm going to speak to all of that richness.
It's very rich in love. It's very rich in information. And
that's it.
That's what counts.
That's
so,
it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to stick around. I haven't actually reviewed the video, so I have to see what it is Alexandre and I talked about. So I'll certainly stick around, and I'll be here for the wrap up.
Right.
Wonderful. And it's, really looking at those different ways that we measure richness or that we measure outcome and objectives. I can feel how much these ripples of change, which was what we came together in the very beginning to do, was be a part of these ripples of change. And with the connections that have been made and the people who've come together and been able to share about their projects and to be uplifted in this time and to really be this beacon and this collective call out to all people we're facing so many different types of pressure in this time, but that pressure is compounding and creates more strength and more integrity within our structures. And I feel that just with this resource alone, if I ever find anyone who is not so in touch with their hope, I'm going to be like, just watch this weekend, because there are so many people who are actively up to good in their own disciplines, in their own realms, that all interweave so beautifully. And so that, I think, is one of the powerful things about bringing so many different disciplines and backgrounds together for this specifically, is rather than to only be in one space with one way, to realize like there is this multifaceted global community of change makers attending to the different aspects of being a human and being part of a greater forest. And it's been so incredible so far, and we're so looking forward to this last segment. So we're so excited to welcome on our final session for the day. And we are going to be hearing from Dennis McKenna and Alexandre Tannous in a potent conversation on mystery schools, sound, and psychedelics, the unraveling of the self and symbiosis as nature's harmony. Dennis McKenna is a renowned ethnopharmacologist focused on the study of hallucinogenic plants. He's the principal founder of the McKenna Academy of Natural Philosophy, a founding board member at Hefter Research Institute. He's also a key organizer. He was a key organizer in the Ayahuasca Project. He organized the ESPD 50 conference, and his work has been foundational in the scientific exploration of ayahuasca, among many other realms. Alexandre Tannous is an ethnomusicologist, sound therapist, and sound researcher. For the past 20 years, he has been investigating the therapeutic and esoteric properties of sound from 3 different perspectives: Western scientific, Eastern philosophical, and shamanic societal beliefs, to gain a deeper understanding of how and to what extent sound has been used to affect human consciousness. His multidisciplinary research has led him to the intersection of art, science, philosophy, and spirituality. So looking forward to hearing their conversation now.
Okay. Good morning, Alexandre.
Good morning. Well, good
How are
afternoon.
you? It's actually your afternoon. Sorry. So thank you for making time to have this conversation. We have a number of topics we want to cover.
Forward to it, Dennis. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Alexandre. We really appreciate your wisdom and your support of the Academy. So,
Pleasure.
As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. We've had so many, face-to-face conversations over your kitchen table, and I wish we were there now, but that's not what's happening. So we have a number of themes to talk about. We want to talk about shamanism and psychedelics and the mystery school traditions, symbiosis, of course, which is the sort of underlying theme that ties all of these things together. Intelligence in nature, psychedelics, and plants. So a rich set of topics, and we're probably not going to get through. We're only going to scratch the surface, as these things always end up being, and then it gets deeper as we go along. So, what are your thoughts? You've seen our different talking points and so on. What would you like the take-home message to be from this finally?
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. And my experience, when things get rough, and there's always a lesson from anything we're going through, and we start to react and resist and kick and scream and not allow things to happen, things get worse. Because it's the perception that gets affected, and we don't fully understand reality. So it's very important to understand why does reality become weird, what makes it weirder if it does so, and how to apply certain equanimous stance on things and certain observation without being affected by what we're observing, and trust the process. My mantra has always been surrender, allow, trust, and accept. SATA, SATA. So that's something I repeat.
Yeah, I think we're definitely on the same page there. When you were saying that, I was thinking, yes, surrender. Surrender to what is happening, and particularly in the case of these altered states with psychedelics, they can be so unfamiliar, so much not a part of our reality, that the mind desperately seeks baskets, frameworks, ways to constrain that experience, and this is what we try to do as human beings. We try to make sense of things. Well, often the psychedelic experience, especially during the experience and immediately after,
don't make a lot of sense, and it's very unsettling to us. It doesn't fit any of the preconceptions, any of what we thought we knew. And that's kind of the point with psychedelics, is it puts you into a place where everything that you thought you knew is open to question, because you're looking at things from a different perspective. So that's really the power of these experiences. They give you a way to temporarily step out of your reference frame, but you have to be open to it. You know, if you come to it with a lot of conceptions, and I think this is often what you address, that, you know, often, I mean, shamanism, for example, works under to actually make of these experiences what we experience and not devalue what we experience because it doesn't fit into this preconception or that preconception. All of these conceptual frameworks, you know, the shamanic framework, the mystery school perspective, Pythagoreanism, they're helpful to understanding, but they don't encompass the understanding completely.
Yeah, very good point. Yes, well, going back to that first point where we started talking about surrendering, it's very important to observe what happens in a shamanic experience. You take the sacrament and you go into a space and things get weird. In reality, as you know, it melts down, but you're going to have to be okay with that, because if you resist, if the ego fights this change of reality of what the psychedelic did, and psychedelics, let's not forget, in ancient Greek mean revealing the mind, manifesting the mind, revealing the soul. So they're showing us what reality can be. And what the shaman does, the shaman does a variety of different things to appease the person, to allow the person to trust the process, to surrender the olfactory stimuli that calm down the person, whether it's Palo Santo, Copal, Sage, and Agua de Florida, or it's hopefully something more elevated than that and more complex olfactory notes. It's about harmony. And the music that is played is to relax you, to affect the autonomic nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And all of this is that trust the process, go through it and pay attention to how you pay attention to things until you develop a meditative, contemplative state where the learning unfolds and the person goes into almost a non-dual state. And when one goes deep on ayahuasca, it becomes just it, right? That's what DMT does. You become the experience. We lose the observer. We lose the one labeling things, the one judging.
Right.
The experience as a very different phenomenological experience. And this is where the learning unfolds through a direct experience, but in an embodied way. It's not just visuals. It's the visual, mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual levels. It's a total synesthetic state on that level of experience. This is rehabilitation, it's an education, it's healing, it's therapy, it's rejuvenation, regeneration, and revealing to the nature of what reality can be. So this is the direct experience that's teaching us something. So it's important to
look in nature. You see this intelligence, and it's built in. It is not, there is no intelligent designer. I reject that idea. Nature is the designer, and nature, by the very way that it's constructed from the atomic and even submolecular level on up to the macrocosmic level, it makes sense. You know, there's intelligence because it permeates it. You know, matter and energy could not come together in a way that doesn't make sense. You know, and it makes sense to itself. I don't know. Does the universe reflect on itself? It makes sense to us when we reflect on reality. Is the universe itself self-reflective?
Yeah. Well, that's a very, very good point. And ancient Egyptians were into this idea, but tying it to the human body as well. Hermeticism, this saying, as above, so below.
As above, so below. Right.
Hinduism, inner world is the same as the outer world. I see what you mean by nature being the organizing principle. I think there is not an intelligent designer that is a human being like Jehovah. That's a typical anthropomorphization. You know,
Right.
humans tend to project human attributes, ascribe human attributes and qualities onto things outside of us. The mountain becomes God, the sun, the moon, the wind, etc., plants. So it's a human tendency. It's a self-discovery. We are peeling off the layers layer by layer. But I believe that the intelligence that manifests in nature is tied to the universe. The ancient Greeks talked about the logos, the ordinary principle, the intelligence in the universe, the universal ordinary principle, if you will. And the Neoplatonists, or should call them Neo-Pythagoreans, because they were followers of Pythagoras, who brought this knowledge from having studied different mystery schools and Hermeticism throughout the world and brought it to Europe. And 100 years later, Socrates and Plato were his followers. So they told us that this intelligence manifests in fields, phenomena, systems, and patterns, ratios, and symmetry. And we use mathematics to understand these patterns and symmetries. And it's not that mathematics is the logos. We use mathematics because it's the most accurate science that we have for measurement. And it's very important for physicists because they study reality, they study consciousness. First, it was the philosophers. Now, philosophers are still involved in this. But and we find this intelligence everywhere. So I believe that the logos manifests in Gaia, and that's what Gaia is, the collection of all. That's my rationale, of course. I believe that Gaia, Pachamama, these terms use, divine feminine, the Shekinah concept in Kabbalah, Ishtar, Inanna for the Babylonians, and the Sumerians, Prajna Paramita concept for the Tibetan Buddhists, is a description of the collective intelligence that manifests on Earth as a group of different elements in this intelligence. You have the fungi, the plants, the insects, the animals, humans, all part of one intelligent system that, as Sir Francis Bacon called it, God's word, the logos, manifesting in God's work, which is nature. And God's word, the word, is the Christ consciousness.
Right, exactly. I think that's it. We're definitely in resonance on this. I think of Gaia as the community of sentient species, and not only living things. I mean, Gaia, or the biosphere, is a system that includes living elements and non-living elements, but they're all conscious. Just because something is not living, as we understand biology, that doesn't mean it doesn't have its own, doesn't manifest its own form of intelligence, and you can look at geochemical processes and cosmic processes and all that. I think, the idea that the logos, that this underlying intelligence permeates not only Earth, but I think really the universe as such. Gaia is not limited to just the Earth, but it may be that the Earth is, a particular instantiation. It may be that systems like the biosphere are exceedingly rare in the universe, but they do occur.
Mm-hmm.
What's your feeling about that, Alexandre? Do you think life is common in the universe or not?
I believe so. I believe it's common, but it doesn't necessarily have to manifest like it is on Earth.
Right.
It's been proven that anywhere there's water, there is life. But the variety, well, if you go deep into the ocean and beyond 1,000 meters where there's no light anymore, and you look at the creatures, it's unbelievable. You think you're on a different planet, and we're still discovering crazy looking creatures in the great depths of the oceans with bioluminescence, and they look chimera like. And So yeah, I think there is life with all the probabilities just in our galaxy alone. They say that there must be over 400 or probably more plant-like environment where there is life. So we don't know the universe, and we make claims. We don't know. We don't know, and it's very important to leave room for what we don't know, because we have ideas, but again, reality is not something that we know so well. I believe there is intelligence, and intelligence is everywhere in the universe, but it takes different shapes and forms.
Yeah, and I think this is, I agree. I think there probably are living systems widespread. We know from the planetary science now there are thousands of potentially habitable planets, but I think it may be that life is fairly common, but complex life and technological life like ours is fairly rare. I think that arises out of special circumstances. Maybe not, but I think it's likely that life achieves a certain level of complexity only in rare instances. And this may go back to why, in a sense, we feel, separate from nature, because in a way we've assumed that we've achieved this different ontological mode that's not very common, and that somehow that's superior. I wouldn't say so. I mean, we can only look at our own biosphere, for example. Look at whales. I mean, there's no doubt that whales are intelligent. And they communicate with themselves, with each other, and they may be great philosophers. We have no idea because we don't understand them. They don't manifest technology because they don't have hands, but they probably think, well, who needs technology? When you live in this world of pure consciousness. So, I think this again is part of the ability to step out of your reference frame, and look at experience things that are really not within the realm of human experience. There's this strange drug, Salvia divinorum, as an example. It's not a psychedelics, but if you want to know what it is to be a filing cabinet or a tile in the floor, this is your medicine. What does that mean? I don't know, but people can have those kinds of experiences. You also made another point, which I think it's really important to emphasize and re-emphasize, which is, as we were saying, all these systems are incomplete, and science needs to remind itself constantly of its limitations. It's a powerful tool for asking questions of nature, getting answers back. And there's a temptation toward hubris and in science and arrogance to say, well, we pretty much have this figured out.
Yeah.
And I reply, no, you have only a tiny, tiny fraction of reality figured out. And even that is open to question, constant revision and question. That's the nature of science. You have to be open to the idea that what you think you know is not necessarily true.
Yeah.
As systems like relativity and so on demonstrate to us, Newtonian physics is useful within limits, but it's quite limited. I'm sure that relativity has similar limits. So this is, again, and I think psychedelics can be a catalyst for, coming to this understanding. A message I often get, I think many people do, is just remember how little you know. And I think that's important.
That's what the egoic mind wants to do, to have an experience, even just a tiny bit of it, or not paying so much attention. And if the person is not careful, the human condition really makes the person go around and start talking right away about the experience because of their excitement, because they want to share, which is something good. But we tend to take something that's literal and go and magnify it, and then we end up by only remembering the words we use to describe it, and not the ineffable experience in its entirety, or the elements that cannot be put into words. Words create reality. Words are for this reality. When we go into deep transcendental meditative state, mystical experience, psychedelic experience, it's very, very hard, close to impossible to describe that in a fine way, every element of that. So the egoic mind wants to run wild with it and show others, which is what makes shamanic society also bicker with each other, which cosmological model is better. Than I've been in experiences with Hopi natives and other natives also in the experience, and they would, in this case it was Huicholes from Mexico, and they would bicker about and laugh and criticize the protocol of how they're conducting the peyote experience, how they're singing the songs, and because they have different systems, you see. So this is something that not only Protestant and Catholic and Sunnite and Shiite and Muslim and Christians do. That's a human tendency, which is to, when we don't know enough, to fight over whose truth is more correct, which way is best to worship Jehovah. It's the human condition, it's the egoic mind that wants to put its thumbprint on something. This is mine, this is what I believe it is. And that's what we do when we're in duality. We're separate from the rest. Clearly, we are going back to fusion of the meta with physics. And this affected scientists, made them arrogant, as you said, and science started wearing an invisible straitjacket, even though the person who created the scientific method, Sir Francis Bacon, he was a Rosicrucian, someone who transmitted mystery school teaching, and brilliant person. In his book, last book, who he didn't finish, The New Atlantis, was the blueprint to the founding fathers who created America. So he was not a little guy. So and he wanted us to stay close to nature and to, you know, realize that there is an inner knowledge, there is gnosis. And that's what Rosicrucianism is about. You know, it's the light that can never be extinguished, even, you know, being locked in a room, in a tomb. So it's about the inner experience, which is it's very important for us to understand what the egoic mind can create without intending to create a separation or create suffering, but that's a tendency. So when we study the nature of the human suffering and how does suffering come to be, and how much a direct experience can teach us, and to trust the process, things will be different, but the labeling has to change, the naming. And as Kierkegaard said, if you name me, you negate me. And we as human beings create reality by labeling it and moving on. And very often this labeling comes from a past experience, education, trauma, indoctrination, entrainment, parental imprinting, which is not perfect, and that's okay. But it's about that we are rejecting systems outside of us, and there's a great interest in going inwards. If we notice what has happened in the past 30 years, yoga became industry, meditation is popular in a different way than in the 70s, and psychedelics, shamanism, and mindfulness, and eating better, gaining more awareness. We're going inwards. I think we are looking for harmony with the self, going toward gnosis. We're becoming Gnostics. Gnosis is knowledge of the heart, embodied knowledge, experiential knowledge, non-intellectual knowledge, but we're also seeking more harmony with the environment. Even science is changing. The biocentrism, that the universe is a product of our consciousness and not the other way around, panpsychism. So we are taking a different attempt at symbiosis. We're realizing that we are at a point where we need to learn to re-establish a state of harmony, a symbiotic relationship with all living things, and to empower ourselves by being one with the system and not against the system, because we really derailed as Western culture. We severed our connection with nature. We took the meta out of physics. Science became aspiritual, started wearing an invisible straitjacket, and as you mentioned earlier, became arrogant field. And so we are trying to do things differently, but we're reaching a dead end. We're being forced to do it, because for something big to change, we need to reach a dead end. We're not going to agree that, okay, guys, on March 25th, 2021, we're going to change the way science is being handled, the monetary system and the political system. We're not going to do that. These are very essential things. They're not going to dissolve easily unless something major happens to force us to do that. And I believe we are living through this. We are living through the apocalypse. That's my opinion, which is not the end of the world. It's the lifting of the veil. The truth is coming out, the deception, the lies, the corruption, all of these things. And we're having to rely on the self and go inwards and to figure out that we have nature around us. There's a lot to look forward to feel empowered, and the knowledge that's within us, gnosis. And that's what the psychedelic experience is about.
Yeah, it's the end of the world as we know it.
As we know it. We don't want to go back to
normal. Not something that we should fear. It's something that we should celebrate. This is a necessary transformation that we have to go through, and it's going to be rough, but we have to go through it. And if ever it was apparent that, we often go on about we don't recognize the primacy of nature. We think that, the Western mind particularly has been poisoned with this idea that we own nature. It exists for us. It exists for us to dominate and decimate. And we're seeing the consequences of that. And now nature is quite, forcibly reminding us, you monkeys are not running this show. We're running this show. Don't forget that. And that's a necessary lesson that we have to learn to get past this. I think that this is the thing. This is what we have to reconceptualize, and in order to bring ourselves back into alignment with nature and realize that we're part of it. Ideally, we work in symbiosis. I mean, nature runs on symbiosis, and that's not our model. Our model is we run on competition and dominance. For some reason, we've gotten away from, and in that sense, we've gotten away from this perception, and this, we're rediscovering, I think, what indigenous peoples have always known in a certain way. But I mean, they were probably not conscious of it. They just did it. That's how they lived, and I guess where we're going is that we can rediscover that. We can bring ourselves back into alignment with nature, but we do it in a conscious way, so we know that we're doing this. We make a decision to do this. That can change behavior at the individual level, at the cultural and society, and ultimately at the global level. It's a conscious decision to change, in the light of what we've learned, and in the light of the lessons that our descent into history have taught us. It's been a rough ride. Yeah,
and it's important to learn why this happened. Well, we lost our connection to spirituality, and scientists became the new priesthood, and they're tinkering with concepts and toys and technologies that are modifying reality. And behind it, another thing that affected this is the fact that we prioritize profit over consciousness, and we created technology, which is a great thing, but it has a double edge. We can do good things and bad things. We did not take care of creating technology that does not endanger the existence of human beings and living things. We created social media, well, the internet, first of all, which is, I think, subconsciously inspired from the mycelium, the intelligence of interconnected things. We created the cloud idea, which is the morphogenetic field, which operates on the basis of resonance, morphic resonance. Rupert Sheldrake's work, amazing work, has been teaching us about this. But mishandling money, profit, that social media, what the technologists and engineers created for people to connect to each other, somehow we found a loophole to subject people to collect a lot of data points, to subject people to a lot of advertisement, to customize their reality, to entrain them. So again, we are falling ill to something we created by mishandling, by not realizing what the consequences can be and how much they can be detrimental. And that's a tendency for us to do when we're not paying attention, when we're not discerning, when there's no awareness of where this can lead to. We created plastic, invented plastic. We did not think 100 years from now, where is this plastic going to go? How long is it going to take for it to biodegrade? Are we going to be judicious at doing that? No. Now we're aware of that. We still can't do it. Still, it costs a lot less to create plastic from scratch than to recycle old plastic and to reuse it. So we need to let go of this obsession of money and profit, which sings well and invites more of reptilian brain interaction. And here again, practices like meditation, shamanic experiences, psychedelics, in good set and setting where harm reduction is reduced. There is harm reduction and harm is reduced. Use of sound, mindfulness, all of these things can create more of what Rudolf Steiner promoted, spiritual science. We need spiritual science. This is the time where something new has to come through.
And we need, I mean, this goes very much to concepts we've explored before, which is that, our cleverness way exceeds our wisdom. And that's the problem. With technology, all technologies are double-edged sword, and they can be used for benefit, they can be used for harm. The decisions about how to use those things, I truly believe that good and evil are not inherent in any technology. They're inherent in the human heart. And we have to develop the wisdom to deploy these technologies in a way that are beneficial, or choose not to if we can't see any benefit. We have to have the wisdom to reject these technologies. And when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the thick of social media and all of these things, or, even psychedelics, everything that we do has a moral aspect to it. And it has to do with our wisdom, how we choose to interface with these things that we've created. And I think it's very hard to keep that perspective because they're so seductive, they're so attractive, and it's very easy to get sucked in, and you lose the perspective and you lose the wisdom. So that's what it's our job to understand. As I often say, we've got to wake up. That's one of the big things. But then we have to wise up. We have to get wise in terms of what we do in the light of that waking up. And that's the big challenge that we're facing right now. We know what the problems are. We know what the solutions are. We think we do. We've got to get very wise in terms of how we deploy these things and science.
So it's about working with the inner hardware differently, how the reptilian brain is engaged in making decisions, impinging on how the mammalian brain and the neocortex. And this is something that's happening so much right now with, the fear and the anxiety, what the media is doing, creating a bigger hype. Yes, there is a virus. We need to be careful, but let's bring some level-headedness, and let's not do things that can exacerbate this anxiety and fear and scarcity and uncertainty. Why? Because this is getting the reptilian brain to become part of every person's behavior, which people retreat, and we lose communities. Community is harmony. Right. And that's why I created the Sound Mind Collective, which you're a member of, and is to bring a certain level of equanimity, of doing the inner work and trust the process. Don't fall into agendas of creating hype and following certain conspiracy theories that have no basis, but being grounded and going inwards. This is happening. Trust the process. There must be a reason why this is happening. Don't fall into exacerbating what you're experiencing by applying further lenses of fear, of anxiety and depression. It's very, very hard. It's not easy, but reacting to it in a negative way is only going to make it worse. That's basically what I'm trying to communicate. And that's what the title Sound Mind is. And, you know, we share, people are encouraged to go to soundmindcollective.com and check out, we create serious content, multidisciplinary, syncretic approach. We have 40 practitioners who provide amazing content, talks and meditations and direct experiences, all free to access, because this is what we need to take care of ourselves, to be able to trust the process, learn, go inwards. Right. We don't know what's going on, but go inwards. The answer is within all of us. Spirituality is very important attribute here to introduce.
Right. The Sound Mind Collective has a couple of meanings, right? It's about sound. It's also about sound minds.
Exactly.
That's the goal. I'm sure that that's what you meant when
exactly.
You stated it. Yes, people should, if they want to see more about that, they should check it out. It's really a remarkable initiative that you've created. One thing I wanted to touch about was, again, sort of going with this this issue about the co-evolution between plants and our species, and really co-evolution with everything. Plants, the way that they bring their own wisdom to nature, if you will, is through chemistry. Plants are the most creative chemists on the planet because they have the power of photosynthesis. So not only are they maintaining this balance in the ecosphere, atmospheric geochemical balance, carbon dioxide and oxygen, but they're also creating these signal transduction molecules that are the communications web. What Merlin Sheldrake, the young mycologist that just published this book, Entangled Life, I think he coined a phrase that I think is resonant for me, the wood wide web. You know, and the wood wide web is for an ecosystem that is tied together by these signal transduction processes. And signal transduction is a special kind of communication. It's a molecularly mediated communication in biological systems. If we want to look at signal transduction as a model, the brain is a perfect example. Neural transmission is a chemically and electrically mediated network of relationships, and you see that on the biospheric level as well. So we've got these molecules that plants make that happen to resemble neurotransmitters, and when we encounter them, then we have, they interface with our neural systems. These molecules existed long before nervous systems existed. They had functions in the biosphere, signal transductions functions, and then they adapt, but plants use these molecular messengers to essentially, it's been said, they substitute biosynthesis for behavior. The language of plants, the logos of plants, if you want to think of it that way, is chemistry, through their chemical creativity. And, some of them just happen to fit into the receptor systems of primates. And interesting things happen. What would you say the take-home lessons to our listeners should be? Is there a single nugget of wisdom that you wish to articulate? I think we've been talking about how we can empower the self
Well, we can recapitulate some of the things we said that could be nuggets. So trust the process.
Trust
Go
the
inwards.
process.
Go inwards and handle these powerful tools in a careful, judicious, sensible way. Realize that the sacred is the place where these psychedelics take us to, where we become one with everything, one with nature, with all living things, plant, animal, fungi, human beings, the intelligence in the universe, the logos, and pay attention to how you use words. Talk to people, don't just text and email. The voice has a lot of things other than just words. It has all the musical characteristics. We sing language all the time, we don't just speak it, which emojis are trying to replace the inflections, the fluctuation of the tempo of the speech, the amplitude, the softness and loudness, the silence between the words, the stress on specific syllables and words to create emphasis, body language, grimaces, eye movement. All of these things are part of how we sing language, because it's transmitting reality. We're transmitting the ethos to someone else, which creates pathos in the other person's mind. That's reality. Pathos for me is the full spectrum, not just things that are on the sad spectrum. It's the full spectrum from very happy for all, basically, what language can communicate. So these are nuggets. These are tools, and I'm all for working with tools, and the more powerful the tool is, the more good we can do. But we need discernment, we need reasoning, we need intuition, imagination, inspiration. These last three things are going to save us.
We're going to be doing more work with Alexandre. We're planning a series of courses and seminars, much shorter, but around the mystery school tradition. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Alexandre. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man.
Thank you.
Your time and your wisdom is valuable to us. So thank you.
Always a pleasure. I'm very happy to transmit this, and it's always great to talk to you and have these deep conversations. Yeah.
Yes, next time perhaps over your kitchen table.
Whew. Wow, what a powerful ending to this weekend. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Alexandre. That really brought us from the microbe to the macro and other universes through that whole journey. And it feels like a very potent wrap up to remember, as much as we remember where we are in our own body and where we are in our bioregion and in our watersheds, on our continent and our planet, where we are in the cosmos as well. So thank you so much. This has been such an incredibly rich and enlivening and hope-filled weekend. So I really appreciate you all for being here. Thanks for sticking with us with our couple hiccups. And it's been so incredible. I want to really thank all of our presenters. Thank you so much for being here. Today we saw Abhay Jot, Mark Ian Barash, Pandora, Starhawk, Anthony Basil Rodriguez, Larry Santoyo, Annalise Hordern, Jay Irving, Taj Cicluna. We saw Aaron Young, Robin Clayfield, Robina McCurdy, Mathieu Tehuki, Dennis McKenna, and Alexandre Tannous. Thank you as well to all of you as participants for making this event possible, for your deeply inspiring comments and all of the resources and ideas that were shared throughout the weekend. Thank you for being here and for showing up in your life and in our collective life. Thank you so much to the McKenna Academy team of coordinators and volunteers. We have Christina Chaya, Abby Navarro, Annalise Hordern, Hugo Santos, Anthony Basil Rodriguez, James McKenzie, Seth Warner, Mike Tuscherer, and Paul Garrett. Thank you all so much. I just want to remind everyone that replays are available. So now this resource exists for us all to come back to and find further gems with. And again, the event page will be live after this. And so people can continue to register and dip into this well of information, inspiration, connectivity. So we definitely encourage you to continue to share this with your friends and family and to get the message of all of these amazing change makers out, as well as the chats, which stay in each section. And it's just a continuation of the community. So definitely please continue to check that out. And I'm going to bring on my co-host just for some final closing words.
Well, here we are. Okay, this is a wrap up. This was wonderful. Everything about it has really meant a lot to many people, and we kind of we've been down in the dirt for a lot of this conference, talking about how do we get close to the earth. How do we get back to the earth and work with the earth to generate life? And then in the last segment, we went kind of cosmic, which is perfectly okay, because we are part of the universe. And I guess, Annalise, you have a quote from Terence. I guess I would say, if you want me to say something supposedly wise, there's been so much wisdom here. I would say this. I would say, I believe it was Socrates who said, wisdom begins in wonder. And I think we have to have the courage to wonder if the universe is permeated with intelligence and love. And our job is to listen. And so I will leave it there.
Wow, thank you so much. It reminds me of the Alex Gray picture, wonder of the child looking up into the great universe.
Exactly.
So I'd like to share a quote from Terence, your dear brother, and very much an inspiration to many of us here. The torch that has been passed from generation to generation, ad infinitum, back into the distant past, is alive. And by some strange quirk of the metaphysical machinery, it's our great privilege to live through this symmetry break, this revelation of the next level of open-ended mystery. I think that is the real thrill, and it lies in relating to our world with an open mind, a sense of caring, and a sense of wonder, and a real sense of grounded, intellectually firm hope. So that's all what I want to say this evening. The quote goes.
Okay. Thank you, Annalise.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
It's been a real privilege to be uplifted by this event. Thank you, Genevieve, and all of the team.
Yes, thank you, Genevieve and Anthony and all the people you named. This
Yes.
doesn't happen in a vacuum, so thank all of you very much. And till our paths cross again, I guess I'll say goodbye.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dennis. And we really
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. And just want to remind everyone that the earth doesn't need saving. She's brilliant within herself. And when we listen, that brilliance comes through us. And that's where all of these actions have come from and are coming from. So that feels to me like this very deeply hope-filled moment of realizing if we can just relax and let nature's brilliance work through us and around us, all will be well. All right. Thank you so much. We're going to end the broadcast.
Indeed.
May it be so.
A great morning, evening,
So.
night, wherever you're watching.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.